All right. So, wonderful good morning, everyone. I welcome you to my YouTube channel. This is Ampere Clement, and to those of you that are new to this channel, just make sure that you subscribe and you also hit the like button so that at least I'll be able to know how many students are able to be engaged in my tutorials. So today I'm here to present to you concerning absolute values, functions, absolute equations, and inequalities, and also how to graph these inequalities. So these are very simple questions and concepts to grasp, but just make sure that you pay attention so you'll be able to catch up almost on anything that I'm going to teach. Okay, so let's get into the usual business. So these are my contacts. If you want to ask a question, you can inbox me on that line and I'll respond to you later up in my own free time. Okay, so these are some of the most important concepts that you are supposed to know. The moment you get to know these graphs, then automatically you can graph any absolute value function that you are given. All right, so let's get started with the first one. We have been given y equal to the absolute value of x like this. Now they want us to graph this absolute function. So when you are given something like this, remember this is the absolute value is positive, the x is also positive. So if we were to draw the graph of this uh, uh, absolute function, if we were to draw the graph, say this is 0, then automatically we know that this thing is going this side, at the same time it's also going this side. So when you look at this, it's going to the positive side, at the same time it's also going to the negative side. Okay, this is simply to confirm to you that when you're dealing with absolute values, you may not really know whether the value inside is negative or it's positive. Why? Because this absolute value, they make a function to either be positive or negative. That's the reason as to why its graph comes out like this. Now, if you are to find the range and the domain of this function, since it's coming from, when you look in the x, it's going to the negative, and then in the positive, on the positive side, it's also going this side, which is in the positive axis of the x-axis. So you discover that for the domain is simply coming from negative infinity going to positive infinity, like this. But then the range, since it's coming from 0 going to some point positive infinity, then automatically we can say that the range is 0 comma positive infinity. You can get to 2. You get to 2. We have y equal to negative the absolute value of x, like this. The graph of this guy won't be different that much. Okay, just use the same concept. We have a 0 here. Therefore, since the absolute value is negative and what is in here is positive, automatically we know that this guy is going to go like this. It's going to go like this because this guy is negative there. Okay. Now for the domain, automatically it's coming from negative infinity because it's coming from the negative side, also going to the positive side of the x-axis. Then it will go to some point positive infinity like this. But then for the range, remember we are coming from negative infinity going to some point 0. So automatically it's coming from negative infinity to some point 0 like this. All right, let's get to the third one. They're saying they're saying the function y is equal to this. All right, so how is the graph of this guy going to be like? It's just one and the same concept. We just use the same concept. Now, since we know that the absolute value simply makes, or let me define it as a machine that makes anything that is negative to be positive. So now, since what is inside here is negative, so this is going to be converted to a positive value. Therefore, we expect this guy to come out like this. This guy is going to come out like this. All right, like this. Then its domain will not be different. It will just be negative infinity to positive infinity. For the domain, for the range should just be from 0 to positive infinity. So these are just some of the graphs you're supposed to know. When you look at 4, 4 is also not different. Y equal to negative, then x inside. Okay, so we know that what's inside is going to be converted to some positive value, right? Therefore, this is just the same as y equal to negative x. We plot this one. If we plot this one, it will simply come out like this, and you are going to have those values there. All right, so this is quite simple and interesting. Okay, I'm sure you are now able to see how I have done these questions. Let's get to solve some things, some practice questions so that we see how we are able to plot these ones. So let me write solution. Let's do each one of these. So graph the following absolute functions and find the domain and the range. Find the domain and the range. Okay, so now for the first one, they are saying that y is equal to the absolute value of x plus 2. How do we plot this one? The first thing to work out, since you know that this has a 0 here, which you can't see, then this part, remember what we did on radicals, this part is going to represent some x, this part some y. Now we can simply work out this, what's inside the absolute value, so it will be x plus 2, then it will equal 0, then this is going to be x equal to negative 2. Therefore, we expect to have some point negative 2, comma 0. If we plot this one, we can plot this. We are going to have a negative 2 here, like this. Now, since the absolute value is positive, then automatically we have this point here, and we expect this guy to go like this. Like this. It's very simple. Now, how do we find the domain? So to find the domain for this guy, remember it's coming from here going to this side, including 2. So the domain is going to be from negative infinity, up to some point. It's going to come out from negative infinity up to some point positive infinity. For the range, since it's coming from 0, 0 here to the positive y-axis, then automatically it's going to be 0 included, to some point positive infinity. All right, so that's just the way to go about this question. It's quite simple. Let's get to B. B is simply saying some function of y equal to the absolute value of x minus 2 plus 3. So we know that this is representing some x, this some y. We can work out this. So we say x minus 2 equal to 0. X is going to equal to positive 2, like this. Then, since this is representing y, we have a 2 comma 3 point. You can draw the diagram like this. Then we're going to locate this point automatically somewhere here. Then since the absolute value is positive and what's there is also positive, so automatically we know that this is simply the graph. So it's going to come out like this. Okay. Don't worry about what I've just done here. Sure you're able to see. So now, after doing this, we have just plotted this function here. Now let's find the domain. The domain for this function is simply coming from negative infinity. Remember, it's going like this, then it goes to these areas. So it's also going to positive infinity. As for the range, since we have some y value here and it's going in the positive direction, so automatically we know it's coming from the point 3 included to some point positive infinity. This is very simple. Okay, let's get to C. C is simply saying y is equal to negative 2, the absolute value of x plus 1. So the same concept applies. Very, very simple. Same concept applies. Now, let me just try to interpret this. This negative 2 is simply some factor that shows the expansion of your graph. Okay, it's a factor which shows how your graph is expanding. Okay, it's a factor showing how your graph is simply expanding. Okay, then this negative 3, of course, is some y value. So now, how do you solve this one? So it's just the same concept. This part representing x, this part representing y. So automatically we'll say x plus 1 equal to 0, then x equal to negative 1. So we are going to have a point negative 1 comma negative 3, like this. Then we can graph this. How do we graph this? To graph this, we're going to locate this point, which happens to be somewhere here. Which happens to be somewhere here, because that is where the point is. So this is negative 1. This is negative 1. This is negative 3. The point is here. Now, if you check, you discover that we have a negative 2 here, meaning our absolute value is negative. Sure you remember the diagrams. So this guy is simply going down here. Now, how do you plot this one? This is we have an expanding factor which is in the negative. This simply means you're going to move. You say you move two steps. You say 1, 2, 1, 2. Place there. 1, 2, 1, 2. You place there. Therefore, it will expand in this manner. Okay? To expand in this manner, you also expand it in this manner. Like this. Okay. Then the domain, the range, the domain rather, the domain is coming from, it's coming from negatives, the negative side. The negative side is going to the positive side. So it's coming from negative infinity to the point positive infinity. As for the range is simply, since we have a negative 3, and it's coming from negative infinity like this, it's coming from the negative infinity, then automatically we know that the range is going to come from negative infinity up to some point negative 3 included. Is negative 3. All right, so that's just about how to graph these functions. This is how you graph the functions. Quite easy. Now, let's get into absolute value equations. So you are not asked to graph these ones, but then you'll be asked to find some value concerning these questions. Let's get into our usual business and solve these particular questions. So now, how do you go about solving a question given an absolute value equations? All right, solution. So how about if you are given an absolute value of this kind? So you have two absolute values, then x plus 4 absolute value minus 10, then you say equal to 21. How do you solve this question? Now, to solve this question, you are supposed to come up with two cases, okay? So we can come up with two cases. So we can say case 1, then we can come up with case 2, like this. So under case 1, we are going to get whatever is in here and simply equate it to 21. So we're going to have a 9x plus 4 minus 10 equal to 21. That is case 1. Or case 2 is going to have a 9x plus 4 minus 10 equal to negative 21. Remember, these are absolute values. So in the first place, you might not know whether the value was negative or it was positive. That's the reason as to why you come up with two cases. Now, under case 1, we are going to remove the absolute values like this. Let's say 9x plus 4, 9x plus 4, then this is going to equal to 21 plus, this is going to be 10. Then this is going to be 9x plus 4 equal to 31. Now this is going to be 9x equal to 31. 31 minus 4. 9x equal to 627 over 9 over 9. This is going to be a 3. Okay? Or we can get this part. We can get this part and simply say, or from here, you resolve this. You resolve this by simply equating it to negative 31. How about if you try it that way? How does it come out? Then this is going to be 9x equal to negative 31 minus 4. Okay, so this is going to be 9x equal to negative 35 over 9 over 9. And our x is going to equal to negative 35 over 9. You see? So you come up with two cases. When you reach here, you come up with the two cases there. Now let's get to this case 2 that we made. Now for case 2, we're saying the absolute value of 9x plus 4 minus 10 equal to negative 21. Now we remember that this is going to be 9x plus 4 equal to negative 21 plus 10. 9x plus 4 is going to equal, this is 11. Now, when you reach here, we're supposed to come up with two cases again. But then we can't come up with two cases because there is already a negative this side. Therefore, this simply tells you that this has no solution. Whenever you just say negative somewhere there in a crease, then automatically there's nothing to leave for there. Okay, so let's get to the second question. For the second question, they are simply saying the absolute value of 5x minus 2 minus 6 equal to 2. Like this. Then they are saying we solve. The same concept applies. We come up with two cases. So case 1 is going to be so we do have an absolute value there. So case 1 is going to be, we'll just equate this 5x minus 2. All right. So we come up with two cases. So case 1 is like this, minus 6 minus 6 minus 6. Then we say this must equal 2. Or we can simply say the absolute value of 5x minus 2 minus 6 is equal negative 2. So these are the two cases we come up with. Let's get into case 1. So for case 1, we have 5x minus 2. 5x minus 2. Then this is going to equal 2 plus 6. Okay? Then this is going to be 5x minus 2. This is going to equal 8. Then from here we come up with two cases again, or 5x minus 2 is going to equal negative 8. Just like this, simple. Then from here, we can solve for this one. So say 5x minus 2 is equal to 8. 5x is equal to 10. If this goes this side, this becomes 10. Then automatically, divide by 5, we're going to have a 2 here. Then we solve this one. For this one, we're going to have 5x minus 2 equal to negative 8. Then 5x equal negative 8 plus 2. 5x is going to equal negative 6 over 5 over 5. And therefore, we have x equal negative 6 over 5. That is also a solution. Let's get to the other case, which is this one. Now for this one, which happens to be case 2, let's try to see if we're going to have a negative this side again. If we have a negative, then we don't proceed. So we say -2 minus 6 equal to -2. 5x absolute values minus 2, then this is going to equal, this is going to be a 4. So you see, this is positive, meaning we can continue from this. Then from here, we come up with another case. We say or absolute value of 5x minus 2, then again we put a negative this side. We see if this is going to give us some value. So 5x minus 2 equal to 4. 5x equal to, this is 2, 4 plus 2 is going to be 6 over 5 over 5. X is going to be 6 over 5, like this. Then for here, we say or 5x minus 2 equal to -4. Then this is going to be 5x equal to -4 plus 2. 5x equal to -2 over 5 over 5. Therefore, the answer is going to be -2 over 5. Okay, so we have solved all the values of x. So whenever you just discover that when you reach at this point you have a negative this side, don't proceed. Just stop the thing. But when you have a negative from here, just continue. It will give you some good value. Therefore, our answer is going to be x is equal to 2, -6 over 5, 6 over 5, -2 over 5. These are the x values that you will find when you solve this question. Okay, let's get to solve some other question which happens to be C. So C. What is C simply saying? Okay, C is simply saying the absolute value of x minus 1 plus 3x minus 1 then equal 5. Like this. How do you get to solve such an interesting question? All right, so for this one, it's a different case. Since we have two absolute values like that, it's a different case. So it's very simple, of course. The first thing to do is simply to equate this. I equate this to 0, I equate this to 0. So automatically I'm going to have x minus 1, like this, x minus 1 equal to 0, then 3x minus 1 equal to 0, like this. Then you're going to have x equal to 1, 3x equal to 1 over 3 over 3. Therefore, you will get to have 1 over 3, like this. All right, so when you reach here, you can come up with an interval of yourself. So you can draw diagrams like this. You say this diagram. You also draw this diagram, this line there. Then you do this. So that we can try to prove some things here. Now, since you have a 1, here, you have 1 over 3. Which one is bigger? 1 is bigger than 1 over 3. meaning our interval is going to come from negative infinity to some point 1 over 3, like this. Then another interval is going to come up from 1 over 3, some point 1. The other one is going to come up from 1 to positive infinity, like this. Now from here, we can come up with some values after testing. So now you have this equation, you can draw it down there so that you use it for testing. You have to be very careful while it's testing because you may make a mistake. Now, if we are to get a value that is between negative infinity and the 1 over 3, any value which is less than 1 over 3, if we are to get such a value, of course, 1 over 3 to be 0 point something. Now, a number which is just behind 0 point something is negative. Therefore, it simply means that this will be negative. And at the same time, if you press that number in here, this will still be negative. Because if you press a negative number, if you press a negative number here, big negative number between this interval, this will be negative. For example, negative 3, this will be negative. If we put negative 3 here, this will still be negative. So therefore, you can say that you're going to have a negative x minus 1, like this. Okay? Then, since you've proved that even this, if you put a number that is just between negative infinity and 1 over 3, even this will be negative. So you also put this in a negative form like this. Okay, you get to the second one. If you are to get a number that is just less than 1, you get 0. What happens? If you put 0 while there is x, it will be negative 1 there. It will be negative 1 here. If you put 0 here, it will still be negative 1. Therefore, this will be negative. This will be negative 1, right? This will be negative 1. So therefore, you can say negative 1. So negative x minus 1, like this, because you know this will be negative. Now, how about if we are to get, let's say, some number such as, remember this is supposed to be 1 over 3 included. How about if we are to get 1 over 3 itself, we put it here. Automatically, we expect this to be positive. Therefore, we will simply say this will be positive, so it will be 3x minus 1, like this, positive. But here we know that all of them will be positive because whatever value that you place here and here, it will still be positive. So we're simply saying this will be positive to be x minus 1. This will be 3x minus 1. It will still be positive. Okay, so let's start testing now. Let's try to join these ones here. You can start with that. So how do we do it? So we'll join these two. So this is just the same as negative x minus 1. This is going to, since we're the positive here, this is going to be minus. You get this minus 2. 3x minus 1. Then you say this must equal 5. Negative x plus 1 minus 3x plus 1. This is equal 5. Then from here, this minus this will be negative 4. Negative 4 equal to this minus this plus this, it will be 2. Therefore, this is going to be a 5 minus 2. Therefore, negative 4x will equal 3 over this. Therefore, we have x equal negative 3 over 4. All right, let's get to the second one, which happens to be this one. So for this one, it's going to be, um, all right. So for this one, it's going to be negative x minus 1, then plus 3x minus 1. This must equal 5. So this is going to be negative x plus 1 plus 3x minus 1 equal 5. Then this plus this positive 2x, this minus this 0, so it's going to be 5, 2 over 2, and we get a 5 over 2, like this. We test the other one. All right, so let's get to test the other one. We see if it's going to give us some value. So the other one was positive. It was positive x minus 1, then 3x minus 1. So therefore, it's going to be, for this one, it's going to be um, x minus 1 plus 3x minus 1, and then we get to have 5. So how is it going to be? This is going to be x minus 1, just remove the brackets, 3x minus 1 equal to 5. Then this, okay, so this is going to be 4x, 4x, 4x 0 equal to, it's giving us 5 again, 5, this is 5 over 4. Did we have 5? 5 over 4 somewhere. Okay, so 5 over 4. All right, so now I think we have found quite a lot of critical numbers, but then we know that this can't even hold anywhere because it's a very big number. Yeah, big number, same as this, but we'll try to fit in this value. We see if we're going to have some value which is going to give us a good number. All right, so we first of all found this one. We found negative 3 over 4 when we got a value here in this interval. So we can simply say in this interval, we got 3. This interval, we got 3 over 4. After testing, okay, this interval, we got 3 over 4 after testing. Then in the next interval, remember we got 5 over 2 after testing. Got 5 over 2 after testing. Now here we found some critical value, which we found to be 1 over 3. So automatically say 1 over 3, this interval. Let's see if we're going to have the correct value. Now, we ask ourselves, if we had an interval which is going to come from some point negative infinity, let's just do this. Then we do have 1 over 3 here. Now, between this interval here, and this interval here, are we able to find negative 3 over 4? Yes, negative 3 over 4 may just be here. Therefore, what we're simply saying is this is simply amongst the numbers. Now, we get to the second one. If we have the point 1 over 3, this going to the point 1, are we able to find 5 over 2? 5 over 2 is simply a value which can happen to be, which is 1 point something. So this one may be found somewhere here, 1 point somewhere there, some value. Okay, so it's outside. Therefore, it's not between this interval. Therefore, this one is not a value. That's the reason as to why I didn't even include this one. It's also not a value. If we have 1 to positive infinity, 3 into 1, we are going to get 0, right? we're going to get, wait a minute. So here we had, is it 5? We had 5 over 3, 5 over 3. Yes, 5 over 3, that's what we solved, 5 over 3. So since we had 5 over 3 here as some value, um, 5 divided by 3 is simply 1 point something. And 1 point something is going to be found between these values. Okay? 1 point something is going to be found between those values, meaning this one is also going to hold. It's also going to be some value. Okay? 5 over 4. That is if you solve it the right way. Solve it the right way. Wait a minute. Let me try to resolve this one. Okay, so we had x minus 1 plus 3x minus 1 equal to 5. This is going to be 4x. This is going to be negative 2 equal to 5. 4x equal to 5 plus 2. 4x equal to 7 over 4 over 4. Therefore, we say x is equal to 7 over 4. I think I've solved it the right way. So here we had 7 over 4. So divide by that still hold, it will still hold. Therefore, what we're simply saying is the values of x that are holding, okay, is simply this one and this one. Therefore, this question, the values of x are negative 3 over 4 and x is equal to 7 over 4. So this is how you solve this particular question. And for the other last question, that is your work to do. So these are very simple questions to do. Very simple questions to do. If you have a question, make sure that you inbox me and I'll be able to respond to you. Otherwise, this is very simple practice and you'll be able to understand almost everything. So those of you that have questions, you have a question, you want to ask something, my details are just right there. Okay, those are my details. You can ask me and I'll be able to respond to you whenever I have time. So, shalom, shalom. Don't forget to subscribe and share to others. I love you all. Thank you so much.